Not too bad, better.
Okay. Oh, I thought he said.
Rock and roll.
I know it.
Knock, knock, knees. Falling apart. Yeah. For years.
I won't be able to see past you. Will you be able to see past me? Will you be able to see past me?
Put my Cosmo back.
There you go.
I grew up with Cosmo.
Nice to meet you. Children. Sue. Hi. Hi.
Oh.
Yeah, what's your name? I'm Chloe. Chloe.
One.
One. Okay, you have a lot of sisters, don't you?
I do.
How many?
Well, I used to have 8. 8? Or was it 9? Oh, 8.
Oh.
It was 8. 9 with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 4 brothers.
Wow. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So 4 brothers and 9 sisters?
Yeah.
13 kids.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Phew. Mom, this must have been pretty great.
You know, if I do now, if I knew then what I know now, I'd still be having kids, because I really learned how to do dishes.
Oh, yeah, that's what my mother did with us. That's what she
Come in.
clean.
Yeah.
I had to clean.
Put his hands through my hair.
Cook.
Yeah, I do.
I tell you.
Paper plates and microwave now.
Did you guys all come to sign a petition?
No.
I thought it was a meeting.
It
Do
is.
you have one?
Yeah.
It is, that's a
I do.
test.
Yep.
We
For
do
those
have.
of you who already know that we need to protect the assets of the tribe, we can get started. That's not the only purpose of the meeting
It's
today. though.
petition for a referendum
Yeah.
to protect our assets of the tribe.
From who?
Well, we'll cover it.
We'll cover it all.
The tribe recently got cited for commingling funds from a federal source, and that's as serious as it gets. And I know some people have posted trying to make fun of it and think it's a big joke, but it doesn't matter who is doing wrong. It's up to us to correct it and to fix it. So our EDC director, who recently left employment with the tribe and went over to work with Sioux Tribe Inc. So that's Joel Schultz. He was managing a budget, a federal grant under the Department of Commerce, and we got cited for violating and commingling funds. And in it, it's very specific. It says commingling funds is a demonstration of poor fiscal management. And so rather than deal with that and address it with the person who did it, instead we reward them by handing over all of the financial management of our economic development over to the very person who the citation came from, based on. So we're trying to fix it with the federal government, because if you get a violation for commingling funds, you get put on a list, and that's a do not fund list. And so federal grants that are competitive in nature, we won't qualify for those because we'll be on the crap list. And so it's really serious. So board members who make fun of it, or former board members who make fun of it, or people who make fun of it that think this is a big joke, it's not a big joke. These are the assets of our tribe. Every penny that we spend should be spent as if it's your own money, and not recklessly and handing over money to somebody who just got a citation for violating and commingling funds. Commingling funds, for anybody, if you have an accountant, everybody gets their taxes done if you've got an accountant. Ask your accountant what it means when you get popped for commingling funds, and see how serious it is. It's really serious. And so this practice it looks a lot like the kind of financial management that we were under when Bernard Bouchard was chairman. When we were spending, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't know what I did wrong with the Zoom account, but you guys are here, so I'll try to catch them up at a different time. But so, you know, actually these were in my notes. So the barge. when the tribe spent $1 million on a barge to do a casino development with the former Greeks. At the time, they were called Sunset Resorts. And Bernard Bouchard spent $1 million without the board's knowledge at all. Without any authority, he spent that money. And so that's one example. North Star Neon was a partnership that we went into with a partner who put no money down, and we gave 50% interest. You have to be stupid to act like that with our money. That's just totally stupid. It's indefensible. Phoenix Actor Drive is another one, where we went into partnership. Supposedly they knew all the technology, they knew all of the information. 50-50 partnership where we put the assets into it. Specialty Plastics was another one. Specialty Plastics was one that we were partners with Ernie Young. He's deceased now, but Cooch, we used to call him Cooch. But Ernie, he contacted the federal government and explained that Bernard Bouchard was embezzling through that company. And so the tribe sued Ernie, and they fired Ernie from the company. He was part owner. He sued us back, and he won. So this is stuff that you don't hear about because they keep it secret. They keep it secret under the rubric of we're doing all of this economic development. We're doing such a great job. Another one most recently is Indian Energy. Indian Energy, we just pissed away almost $3 million on Henry Bully. So Henry Bully, old Henry Bully is my uncle, and then his son is my cousin. I wasn't in office when this happened. There's no way in heck I would have been that stupid. The board of directors basically just handed over almost $3 million to Indian Energy, and when he did, the business plan was not intended to make any money for at least 8 years, if at all. So Henry was honest about it, but obviously he took our board, and so what's going on is some of our board members are so intoxicated with this notion that we're diversifying economic development that they're willing to take a risk with our money. The money that they're spending is not their money. When we lose out on $1 million investment, it doesn't come out of the board members' pockets. Their salary doesn't get impacted at all. And so they don't have any personal risk at all. And so the money that was spent on Indian Energy was just a total waste. And there's a little funny story. So at the same time Indian Energy was passed, so was the Greek Romulus deal. The Greek Romulus deal, and it's time to come up with it. And I can say it, and DJ Hoffman is threatening to sue me, but you know what I say? Go ahead, because the best defense is the truth, and I will put you under oath, and we will depose you, and you'll have to tell the truth, because he will not acknowledge that he worked for Jerry Campbell. Jerry Campbell is a guy that worked for a bank, and he brought, DJ brought Jerry Campbell to the tribe to potentially be an investor in trying to bail us out of Greektown in 2007. We never knew Jerry Campbell before that. I don't know how DJ ever met him or knew him, but DJ Hoffman brought Jerry Campbell to the table. We were facing bankruptcy, and so we entered a deal with Jerry Campbell, a non-compete and a non-disclosure, and to share financial information. And Jerry Campbell kept us on the hook for 3 months. And by the time Jerry Campbell came back with his plan, it was exploitative. He wanted 30% of ownership of Greektown for a very small investment. And our board rightfully said, no, we don't want anything to do with you, and they rejected Jerry Campbell. That's in 2007. Flash forward in 2010, DJ Hoffman lost his board seat. And so then DJ Hoffman gets hired by Jerry Campbell. Now here's what he was hired to do. He was hired to take his knowledge of information from the tribal board. He was hired to use his relationships with members of the tribal board to get the tribal board to go into business with Jerry Campbell. So think about how dirty that is. That's taking your former position as a board member and it's basically just selling out your grandmother in your tribe by going and working for this company that already tried to exploit us. And so then he brought a deal that he got, obviously he was successful because he got enough board members to vote for it that the board passed it. It was a tie vote. Half the board voted for it, half the board voted against it. Joe McCoy broke the tie and passed it. And I was a tribal member at the time in 2010 as a citizen, just as I am right now. Me being a chairman doesn't at all reduce my ability to circulate petitions. It doesn't affect my free speech. I have every right that any other tribal member has, okay? I know right now that people are taking notes, and DJ's gonna claim that somehow I violated my oath of office by being, speaking. One of the things to keep in mind, and I'm a strict constructionist and I'm an American, is when we take our oath of office as a member of the tribal board of directors, we take an oath to uphold the tribal constitution and the United States Constitution. And under the United States Constitution, we have a right to free speech. And no board member can inhibit that. No policy they can pass or try to manipulate the legal counsel to claim that something's confidential and can't be talked about. That's nonsense. That's a violation of our constitutional rights. And DJ does it all the time. He's constantly making a threat, constantly requesting to have a legal opinion about what I'm saying. So I say have at it. If he wants to sue me for revealing his secret dealings with Jerry Campbell, so let me also say this. So he denies it. And the thing is, if he's got nothing to hide, why is he lying about it? Why is he denying it? Why not just come out with it and say, yes, I did. I left office, I didn't have a backup plan, I needed an income, and I was desperate, so I went to work with the dirty dealer, right? Just admit it. Don't lie to people about it. And so after a session that we had with Jerry Campbell, after we concluded it, we were in the room, and legal counsel was present, and so was Keith Massaway, the treasurer of the tribe. And I asked Jerry Campbell, did DJ Hoffman work for you? And he said yes. Did he make a $50,000 salary? He said yes. So that's the truth. And if DJ wants to sue me, go right ahead, because we'll go into court, and then I will cross-examine him, and he'll have to answer that question. Well, it seems like, I don't know if we can get that information, because it seems like if he got paid, the IRS should be able to prove it, right? Right. Yeah, so here's the thing is, if he's real serious about suing me, and he's constantly threatening to sue me, then do it, man up or shut up, do it. And then we'll go under court, and then the basis of it is that he was working for him. So, by the way, did you pay any taxes when you were working with him? Because it could turn out that he wasn't. He could have been under the table, I don't know. So, but it's the truth. So I was getting to the funny story. So when this happened, think about this for a second. The board of directors voted to go into business with Jerry Campbell and with Ted Getzeros together. Does anybody remember Ted Getzeros? Ted Getzeros was
I remember
the Greek.
the name.
He was the Greek. Okay? Why? And
They're the
now,
ones you should be suing.
After
Him and Bernard.
after they had sued us for millions of dollars and we went into bankruptcy, why would we ever even talk to Ted Getzeros? So Bernard brought Ted Getzeros to the table because he was on the board. DJ brought Jerry Campbell back to the table. The board votes on a plan, a deal, a Jerry Campbell Greek Romulus deal. And so I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm letting that happen. I'm just an everyday citizen of the tribe at the time, but I'm gonna go get signatures and I'm gonna put that to a vote of the people. The board can't deny it if I get the signatures. So I got enough signatures. So at the same time, Denny was getting signatures for Indian Energy. And so he came to me and he said, hey, because he lost his seat at that time too. And he said, hey, will you get some signatures for me and I'll get some signatures for you? And I said, I can't because I don't want my uncle to be mad at me because of Henry's deal, my cousin Henry. And then later, about a month later, I was talking to my Uncle Henry and I told him that I had told Denny that. And he said, you should have got signatures. That was a stupid deal. Why the hell would the tribe give away that kind of money to cutters, to Henry? And so that's what we have to protect ourselves against. Time after time after time, the tribal board has spent money, or now they've created Sioux Tribe Inc. to spend the money. So you can't even ask the question. You can't ask the question, how much is this executive that they just hired, Joel Schultz, who went over there? How much is he making? I don't even know. Do you know who the members of the board of directors are for Sioux Tribe Inc.? Do we know if any of them have conflicts of interest with members of our board of directors, like DJ Hoffman? Do we know that? We don't even know who they are. So how secure are we with handing over operations of millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars in management that we already do a good job on. Like we got Brenda Jeffers, we have Jamie McDonald that run the Midgeons or that run our rentals. Why do we need them to operate? You know what? I would say, let's go for a month and you won't even feel the difference because he's gone and they're already managing. They're doing a good job managing. So I'm very uncomfortable with handing over the management operations to somebody who just got a citation in the federal government for commingling funds. Who in their right mind would think that's justifiable or a good thing to do? So, no, on its surface, it looks really bad. So I will say, DJ, in his classic DJ-ness, I did leave the meeting because I couldn't believe what the board was about to do. And Betty and I were disgusted, so we walked out together. And what I understand happened after I left, so I'm not breaching confidentiality because I was not in the room when it happened. What I found out happened afterwards is DJ and a couple board members start pushing the question, oh, did he breach confidentiality? Did he breach a closed session? Isn't that removable? So, I mean, that's how quickly it happens. So the legal department, they asked the legal department to do an opinion on whether or not it was illegal for me and removable for me to expose the fact that we just got a major violation for commingling funds. If they had their way, you would never hear about it. It would all be a big secret. Our tribe would go into bankruptcy and you'd never even know about it because they think, oh, that's confidential. So the good news is it didn't go anywhere. So I'm not going to be removed based on that. They'll have to make up some other reason. But it's not removable. It's not confidential. And I knew it wasn't because the letter came from the federal government. We have a right to that information as taxpayers. So, but okay, so that's what the petition is. It's basically we need to get 100 signatures. If you, here's another one. If you grab a couple to get signatures on, take them to get your family members. You know, getting signatures on petitions is not easy, so we need everybody's help.
It's not fair.
And I know I'm looking at probably about 300 or 400 people just looking at your family. If you can help me get signatures on that, I would really appreciate it. So I do want to open for any questions at this point, and then I'll get back into some of the updates and the review,
I'm gonna ask him.
which is the reason we came.
And I will.
So I also want to say this, and I don't want to make this an attack on Steve, but Steve, can you tell me from your posts back and forth with Nathan Wright, can you tell me who is it that I've been asking, you guys, who is it that I've been asking to overtake the government by physical force? Are you aware of that? Let me say it that way. Are you aware of anything that anybody I've asked?
I read it, and it did look Trumpified.
Who did you read it from?
I can't remember it right now. I'll let you know if take me off your block list.
Okay, what I'd like you to do, because what we're talking about now is a federal crime. And what I'd like you to do is to contact local law enforcement. I don't live on the reservation, so they don't have criminal jurisdiction over me. But call the tribal, the city police, call the FBI, call the tribal police, because it's really serious. It's not.
What I read, it wasn't serious. It was just political.
Well, claiming that
Political
I'm
and the real
instigating-
life are two different things.
Okay, but claiming that I'm instigating tribal members to physically remove the board members from their office is violence. That's an insurrection. We just went through that at the federal level. It's serious, and we
Yeah.
don't play with that kind of stuff. I have never done anything like that. I would never suggest anything like that.
And when you do put something serious on it, it just gets laughed at anyway on Facebook.
Okay, so I'm gonna accept you on good faith that you didn't see me say anything like that.
I
You didn't
read it.
s-
I just told you. I read it, and I didn't even read all the way through because I know how the tribe operates.
Okay. All right, so there's no there. I know Nathan was putting it out there too and trying to suggest it right after DJ left the workshop to talk to Nathan Wright in the hallway about this very thing. He doesn't think I heard him talking to Nathan Wright about this. But there is no way I would ever suggest, I wouldn't be chairman if our election process was corrupt. And so I believe in our democratic process. If you don't like something, get engaged and change it. Betty's a perfect example. Betty came meeting after meeting after meeting, raising hell. There's times when she made me extremely uncomfortable, but and she's a better ally than she is an enemy. I'll say that. But we can change this. If we don't like what we're seeing, get involved, get behind somebody's campaign and support somebody, and change it. Now, that's as much as we're going to say about campaigns, because the election committee has posted on the webpage this claim that speech is somehow under their authority. That's nonsense. They have no authority over our speech. We can't actively campaign for a position, either chairman, there's no chairman seat this time, but for a board seat until after the notice of election. When I say actively campaign, it means you can't spend any money. It doesn't mean that you can't say, I'm thinking about running for the board, or I don't like these deadbeat board members because they don't even show up. You know, DJ hasn't been to a meeting, I think 1 or 2 meetings in over 2 years. He's been on virtual for 2 years. So it's make it up as you go along. So
Isn't there a rule that says she has to be?
the board did vote, and I do support this. If a board member feels like they might be endangered, we do have one board member who has a medical issue, and I won't go any further than that. So that makes sense. But that board member's mother, there's not a reason for that board member's mother. You know, if we can get to a board workshop, we don't have a whole bunch of people coming to board meetings right now, and the board is stationed up here where you don't really get to circulate, so we're safe. And if you don't feel like you're safe, just put on a mask. The board gets paid $67,500 a year to do their job. And I'll say that most board members have showed up, at least for like maybe the last 6 months. So anyway, that's all we'll say about election, because they're using fear and intimidation, and it happens to be a member of the board's immediate family that just ran for election. That's using fear and intimidation. And I want to also say just one last thing about the election process. Is in 2020, when Austin ran, somebody innocently walked into the mid-gym to get a signature. Austin was standing outside getting signatures. Somebody who supports him walked in and followed somebody in, and they didn't actually get the signature. They asked if they would sign it when they come out, and that is technically a violation. But so in the first time in our history, the election committee chair posted on our webpage this violation that Austin did, right? Okay, a couple years before that, a seated board member had a campaign sign in the break room in the Heston Casino and used the travel newspaper to say, go to my website, which was her campaign website, and used her board article. We didn't expose her, but we singled Austin out. Austin is the only one in our history that we've done that. Who else ran during that election? Betty ran. But so did Mike McCurdy, who is the brother of the election committee chair. Yeah, I'll tell you, for all that effort, it didn't work, because Betty set a record. Betty was head and shoulders ahead of where everybody else was, and so was Austin. In fact, I got those numbers for you. Betty got 70% of the vote, and she was 19% ahead of where you needed to be to get elected for that election. Austin won 64% of the vote, and was 13% of the vote. You guys later. Be good. And then Mike McCurdy got 51% of the vote. So he just eked by $1. And so for all of that effort to try to smear Austin, it didn't work, because Austin, he was head and shoulders ahead of where they were. So, all right, I guess I either said something I wasn't supposed to say, or maybe I gave them enough to go spread some information. So. Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about positive of where we're at. During the pandemic, I have been going after federal dollars, and I know I can't tell. Is that Jennifer back there? Okay, so Jennifer posted on her page that our staff is to be attributed for all of the money that we went after. That the chairman is being unprofessional and is claiming that all of this is happening. So let me break it down for you. And those of you who read my posts or read my article know my role in this. So because I serve in a federal role, at a national level, which I've worked hard to get, as an officer for NCAI, I have access, and it doesn't cost us anything. And that's benefited our tribe, and that's a good thing. That's not something to play with or to claim it's not happening. So when the pandemic hit, we went after these monies, and I was active, and I was one of maybe 8 or 10 tribal leaders across the country that was active in helping to shape how we were going to get these monies and how they would come back to the tribe. We tried really hard under the Trump administration for the CARES Act, and there was all kinds of limitations put on it and restrictions and deadlines. And during consultation, there was, again, 8 of us that were consistent to say that's too restrictive, it's too difficult for us, we need more flexibility. And then when we changed presidents, under the new president and the new administration, and I don't want this to be political on that level because we have to work with Democrats and Republicans, but under the new administration, we were able to get the Rescue Act made more flexible. And so I played a key role in that. And so just so you know I'm not lying, because I know some are out there saying that I'm lying about it, go back and look on my Facebook page in my article this month, because I list out 2017 when I testified on our infrastructure needs on behalf of all of Indian country for the National Congress of American Indians. And then this summer, right after the Senate passed the infrastructure bill, it still had to go to the House, I was the facilitator for the national meeting for across the country about what our needs were in the infrastructure bill. So I played a direct role in getting the money and getting the flexibility so that the money would come to the tribe and we would be able to expend it to meet our needs. So if anybody, past or present, thinks that they know what they're doing and want to represent our tribe at this level, doesn't understand that value, they're not qualified to serve to represent our people. Because we have carved out a role. Plus, I'm not up for election. I'm not up for election for another 2.5 years. And I'm giving it my all. I got offered the National IHS Director position, and I turned it down because I just got in DC. So Brian Newland got offered the Assistant Secretary of Interior. I got offered IHS Director. So that's kind of a funny story. So I feel like Thomas and Smoke Signals. I get a call in December of last year after the election, and it's the person who the transition team assigned to go out and find an IHS Director. And I get a call, it's 11 o'clock at night, and it's a friend of mine. So I get a call and he says, hey, would you like to work for the administration? I said, well, I was kind of thinking about it. I really would like education. That's my degree, right? I do have a master's degree in education. I am qualified as an educator. I don't pretend, I do. A doctorate degree in education. Some of us do, some of us pretend, but I do. And so I said, well, what are you thinking about? And he said, IHS Director. And I was like, what? That's not my background. He said, you serve on HHS staff, you serve on SAMHSA Travel Advisory, that's Substance Abuse and Mental Health, you serve on HRSA, you serve on all these committees, you're perfect for it. And I'm like, okay, well, what are my chances? How many people am I going to be up against? And he said, no, you misunderstand. We want you. You have it if you want it. I didn't because I just got elected. This was only 6 months after I got elected, and I've been offered before, and I made a promise to our people. And if the people want me, then as long as they want me, I want them. And one other thing is, you would think with all these attacks that are coming again, that are resurfacing, that somehow I'm up for election or somehow my support is diminished. I'm going to give you some statistics. In 2012, I got 56% of the vote. Okay. In 2016, I dipped because Keith was a real challenger, a qualified challenger, and I got 52% of the vote. In 2020, I got 58% of the vote. That's the highest margin that a chairman candidate has gotten over 25 years. So I'm not going anywhere, and I'm delivering millions of dollars to the tribe. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What I'm doing wrong in the eyes of the people who don't support the good that I'm doing is that I'm not lining my pockets, or I'm not lining board members, family members' pockets. I'm doing my job. And you know what the test of that is? It's not the the spoil sport that's bitching about it, that's armchair warrior behind a keyboard who doesn't show up for a meeting. It's the people of this tribe who keep re-electing me. I'm getting close to getting a landslide. The next time might be 60%. As long as I'm doing my job, I should be able to be Joe, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So, so under the infrastructure bill, we fought for, and we got $14 billion, we just got it, for all tribes. What that's gonna mean for our tribe is we're gonna access, so the 14 billion is broken down to 4.5 billion for water and sewer, 4.5 for roads and bridges, 2 billion more for broadband, and there's another 3 or 4 billion more that will be available for tribes to compete for. Plus, we're eligible for another 149 billion more out of states, territories, and tribes. We have to compete for those dollars. So let me talk about the Rescue Act for a second. So the Rescue Act came into play, and the total that was pushed out to Indian country was 30 billion that went out to Indian country. So those dollars, by the way, again, not up to the staff to compete for those, the staff writing applications for those. It was how we structured that money and to get it to come through self-government, and how the money just pushed out to tribes. And so I created a concept called unrealized third-party revenue. So because we have, in our health clinic, we see people that have insurance, we're able to bill for that insurance, whether they have their own private insurance or if they have Medicaid expansion. And so I argued that because our doors closed, we weren't able to see people, we couldn't collect their insurance, and we do a really good job. Bonnie Culpo was the reason why we collected that much insurance. But we collected about $12 million a year in third-party revenue. And our annual funding agreement is about $20 million. So you can see that about a third of how much money we collect for our health delivery comes from insurances, okay? So I argued that because our doors were closed because of COVID, we were at a disadvantage for collecting those revenues because we kept team members on. We did the right thing by keeping team members on. And so I argued that we should get a big chunk of money for unrealized third-party revenue. I just made that up. Unrealized third-party revenue. And they agreed. And so we got an $8 million check for third-party, unrealized third-party revenue. We got a whole bunch of money. We got 4.2 million that we're working right now to try to keep because of some mismanagement. So here we go again. We worked to get 4.2 million in HRSA, Health Resources Service Administration funding, and it's at risk because the health center didn't budget for it and spend it up. I'm optimistic that tomorrow's the deadline, by the way. We've been working through the weekend. We think that we're going to be able to keep every penny. So we rolled up our sleeves, we looked through the legislation, we're applying everything that we spent on it. But so under the Rescue Act, we got a big chunk of money, and those monies again, some of it you had to compete for, a small portion of it you had to compete for. We got a formula amount based on our membership. Now here's a key point. During the CARES Act, how many of us have family members that live outside of the UP? Okay. How many of us love our family members that live outside of the UP? So the CARES Act has no stipulations in it. So everything that you read from members of the board of directors in their unit reports or online, claiming that we weren't able to serve the people at large because the CARES Act restricts it, it's a flat out lie. Tribes across the country have benefited their members that live outside of the service area. And so it's inappropriate, it's wrong for them to just flat out lie like that. It's they chose, the board, the majority of the board chose to deny our brothers and sisters. My Uncle Henry, he's our firekeeper. He's born and raised on Sugar Island. He was born speaking our language. He travels to do our ceremonies. Why is he any less a member than any of us back home? But our board chose to treat people at large as second-class citizens, to exclude them, and then to lie about it. I got a letter from the Department of Treasury that clearly says that it's, are you recording me right now? Yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I got a letter from Treasury that makes it clear that there's no restriction based on where you live. And so when they say this and they keep saying it, it's just not true. So, but we pushed hard under the Rescue Act to count all of our members, because one thing that is true is the money that we got in the CARES Act was based on the counts for the people back home on our service area. So that part's true. But it didn't say, because it's based on them, you can't serve them. But in our board members, some of our board members actually believe the lies they're telling themselves, is that, well, it's based on the service area, so therefore we are not allowed to serve people outside. Well, that's a really fuzzy sort of logic step they're taking, but there's nothing in the federal regulations that said that we couldn't serve our people. So the next round, we were able to count all of our members. And so that was the biggest chunk of the Rescue Act funds was based on formula, based on our population. So we were able to use our members from across the country. And so I'm like, okay, I know they're gonna fight it. So Betty and I in Austin held community meetings, online virtual meetings. We had 2 meetings and we took input from all across the country from people who said, here's what we should do. We listened to them. We had a couple of ideas of our own, but we listened to them, and then the 3 of us crafted a plan, and then I pushed out the plan, and you can see it. It's on my Facebook page. I'll update it, and you can see what we proposed. We had proposed distribution to members. Give the members each check. Everybody's hurting during a pandemic. Why would we be stingy about that? A large chunk for housing, a vaccination lottery, incentives for workers at our vaccination clinics, team member relief, addiction recovery campus, $25 million, revenue and payroll recovery. So we worked on this, we wrote up a resolution, we put it on the agenda, the board tabled it to death. That's what they do best, table it to death. And it's like, wait a minute, what's wrong with the plan that we presented? If you don't like it, amend it. Come up with your own ideas. We introduced this in May of last year. Okay? No, we had the sessions in May and June. We introduced it on June 4th for the board of directors. June 4th, June, July, August, September. They had to come up with it as their own idea before they would be willing to do it. But guess what they did? They did distribution to members, large chunk for housing, vaccination lottery, incentives for workers in vaccination clinics, team member relief, addiction recovery campus, revenue and payroll recovery. And we sat back thinking, you know what? That's okay. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Okay, it's all right. It's our idea. You want to give us credit for it, but it was our idea, so that's fine by us. Because we don't have any problem with that, because we're just grateful that the money is getting to the people who actually need it. But it's like, okay, when you're making $67,500 a year, and your pockets are lying pretty tight, right? So you don't have any real concern about how you're faring through it. You don't even have to show up for work. DJ Hoffman's been to 2 or 3 meetings in 2 years. So your pay is the same no matter what. So you're not hurting. What do you care? And that's horrible. That's not the way to lead a people. We should try to benefit our people. And so I'm just grateful that we've got Betty and Austin that can help me, because who knows what they would have done with that money. You know, the Fishers relief. I hear one board member talking about, we need to get access sites. It's like, no. So let me tell you about the Fishers relief.
Oh, wait a second.
Go ahead.
With the CARES Act money, the at-large people did not get their equal share.
That's right. Because of the lie claiming that the federal government told us we can't use it on our at-large members. And you know what's interesting is people who want support at large, how quickly they forget that. But they claim that, but it's not true. So they said by law we can't give them an equal amount. And it's like, okay, who's telling you that? That didn't come from the General Legal Counsel. It didn't come from the federal government. Because what we tried to do was to catch people up. Because we got a big chunk of money, we said, okay, let's catch the at-large people up so everybody's treated equally. One of our core beliefs is Indian people. This is another telltale of the people that are fake in their beliefs, fake in their fake Indian beliefs. Because we believe in our spirit wheel that we're all a spoke on that spirit. Well, nobody is any more important than anybody else. We're all equal. And if we feel it's appropriate to benefit this person more than this person just because of where they live, their mind's messed up. They're believing something. It's some kind of fake cultural stuff that they learned somewhere else, but it didn't come from our people. Because we believe, you know, if somebody comes to your house, no matter how poor you are, you feed them. You don't turn them away. And what our board did was they turned our at-large members away. And so when we went after these monies, and we got this big chunk of money, and we tried to then treat everybody equal, they still fought against that. And it's not money that's coming out of their own pocket, because they all got $1,000. Every board member got $1,000 in the first round. They got $2,000 in the second round. So they're not hurting. $67,000, add another $3,000, they're not hurting. Add the board retirement pension plan, $2,500 a month when they retire, they're not hurting. So think about it. And it's horrible that they just so easily dismissed. And the people who line up like disciples behind that kind of thinking, that it's okay to deny our own people, that's just horrible. It's unconscionable. There's no basis in our Anishinaabe B'Matzawit to believe that way.